And we are live.
The Fantasmagorium show presents Set to Stun. I am Scotty, Shondra is in sick bay, and Steve is in engineering with the news. How are you guys doing this eve?
Great.
Very good.
Excellent. I am looking forward to the show today just because, oh my stars, Shondra, you finished up season 1 of Picard.
I did.
I am really looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that. But before we get to that, Steve.
Yes.
What is going on with shirt designs? We have stuff going on in the shop.
We do. So we made some designs over the weekend specifically for the show, and I'll throw them up real quick, and you can check them out. So we have the Set to Stun with the Enterprise, a version of the Enterprise.
The classic Live Long and Prosper.
Live Long and Prosper.
Oh, sad Spock.
Sad Spock.
Yay,
Cool,
we got the
Spock.
Voyager.
Yep. Got the Voyager and the space station.
DS9.
So those are available right now at our shop, www.phantasmagoriumshow.com/shop. You can pick yourself up a t-shirt if you'd like to do so.
Perfect. Well, what do we got going news-wise, man?
See William Shatner's music video, lament on his post-Star Trek cancellation life.
At 90 years old, William Shatner keeps on going. The original Captain Kirk has a brand new album coming out next month, and he has released a couple of music videos for it. Bill's latest is Bill. Following up on his 2020 album, The Blues, which was a #1 hit, William Shatner has a brand new album coming out on September 24th, simply titled Bill. On this new release, Shatner has teamed up again with Grammy-winning country musician Brad Paisley, this time for a more personal album that has Shatner delivering his autobiography in a series of songs. One of the new music videos features the song So Far From the Moon, about a hard time in Shatner's life in 1969 after the cancellation of Star Trek, which gave him a different perspective on the Apollo 11 moon landing. Now, that music video is available for reasons. We won't be able to show it here, but I do recommend checking it out as a fan of William Shatner's spoken word music career. Are you guys fans of Shatner's albums at all?
No.
Oh, I'm so not even surprised, but I have always had Transformed Man with Rocket Man is fantastic, and Has Been is still one of my favorite albums. When he sings Common People, it just makes my heart swell. So for a 90-year-old man to be releasing another album, it kind of reminds me of when Christopher Lee released his Metal album. So I am just super jazzed with Shatner in all of his just over-the-top, larger-than-life Shatnerisms.
Oh, he is that. He is definitely that.
He is definitely that. But, and have you seen him for 90?
Yeah.
Looks good for 90, man.
All right. I am on the Star Trek show and obviously the most passionate about my love for Shatner. So I understand, not necessarily for everybody, but I love the man.
Man, he didn't even make top 5 captains for me. So, you know.
This is, I know. This is
Yeah.
true. Oh, but it's
Me neither, actually.
Denny
So,
Crane.
yeah.
Anyway, what's next?
Star Trek Voyager documentary gives production update, releases sneak peek video.
True. The Star Trek Voyager documentary, To the Journey, was featured on a panel at this month's 55-year Mission Las Vegas Star Trek convention that included details on where they are in production and what they have planned. They also showed a sneak peek, which is now available online, and it is available over at trekmovie.com. After wrapping up a record-breaking $1.2 million crowdfunding campaign earlier this year, the documentary team set up a new studio to shoot more interviews in June. At the Las Vegas panel, producer-director Dave Zappone, said the team was still deep in production but had already completed a number of interviews. He mentioned a couple of standouts, including one with Star Trek Voyager co-creator Jerry Taylor. He also mentioned Robert Beltran's interview, saying that he sat down with him for 2.5 hours and it really blew him away, adding that the actor was just so open and he is a wonderful, wonderful guy. A number of interviews with members of the cast were done in 2020 during a Voyager reunion on a Star Trek The Cruise. This summer, 2020, when cruises were a thing. This summer they have been bringing in more people who worked on the show, including guest stars and behind the scenes creatives. Have you guys checked out any of the other sort of retrospective documentaries on Next Generation and Deep Space Nine?
I haven't.
Really?
I think the only thing I've seen was obviously the Captains, that movie, and Trekkies, and I think that's it for like that kind of stuff.
Well,
sorry, I got a kitten caught in some wires. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm glad the kitten's back. Well, and there are a couple other ones. There is, speaking of Shatner, there is the one that he produced called Chaos on the Bridge, about the tumultuous first season of Next Generation, which is really, really interesting and sort of pulls back the curtain a little bit on the fairy tale beginnings of everyone's, well, mostly everybody's favorite Star Trek show. Certainly legendary Next Generation is. And then there's the What We Leave Behind, the documentary retrospective in regards to Deep Space Nine, which is also really, really good about, and that tumultuous production. The interviews with Terry Farrell are really interesting to hear about how that was difficult for her and how she was essentially, well, definitely replaced in season 7 from Jadzia Dax to Ezri Dax.
I will absolutely watch that one.
Really compelling if you're into the behind the scenes stuff. And also with the production not necessarily being viewed through rose tinted glasses as well. So that's really cool. And also they do a sort of writer's room reunion, envisioning a season premiere for season 8 of Deep Space Nine, which is excellent and yet also heartbreaking because it does deal with Aaron Eisenberg, the passed on Aaron Eisenberg. And it is really, really touching to be able to hear his side of what they were planning or what they were proposing had they gone to season 8. But yeah, I just really like these Star Trek documentaries because they don't seem to sugarcoat it anymore. They're true retrospectives and analysis of all of the Rocky Hollywood productions.
Nice.
But that pretty much does it for the news. I'm really champing at the bit. I want to hear what Shondra has to say about Picard.
I know that you thought maybe if I watched past the first 3 episodes that I would dislike it more. I hate to break it to you, but no.
So you were wow.
I
okay.
Really like the whole season.
Okay.
I was pretty impressed with it.
And now, what would the highlight be for your favorite episode of the season?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Okay.
I mean, like anything with 7 of 9, but like.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Although now, when they go to Free Cloud and 7 of 9 is revealed to be the Fenris Ranger and sort of a vigilante among the stars, did you think that maybe there had been how did you feel about the change of character from the last time that we saw her on Voyager?
Honestly, I didn't feel like it was that much of a stretch. I mean, she was traumatized. She was forced to be a Borg for most of her life, and like Voyager was a very accepting crew. They accepted her for herself, but to go back and to be amongst like humans and other people who've been traumatized and dealing with other alien species in the rest of the Federation, I feel like she spent years kind of ostracized and not really as accepted as she would have been on Voyager. Put the like trauma of her life experiences, mix in the like, you're a Borg mentality. And like, you also see how her parts were being like, they were harvesting parts from other Borg, and she had like the one other person on Voyager apparently that like became her family because he also had Borg parts, and he was like she had to kill him. Like, this is a lot of really character building stuff. These are things that make sense for her to become like that she would really rebel against the Federation, similar to Picard, but in a different way. Obviously, he's a little more, he still believes that the Federation can be redeemed, and I don't really think she does. I think she's just like, I'm over it. Like,
well, absolutely. And then upon returning to the Alpha Quadrant, it didn't even occur to me, just in terms of the changes that would happen with her being a Borg in the Alpha Quadrant, a recovered Borg. However, with her family, I forget his name. But the Borg who has his eyeball ripped out and has his Borg implants harvested, mm-hmm. that was heartbreaking. And you did just remind me that 7 of 9 was dead in the series finale of Voyager, and so there was no acclimatizing to the prejudices of the Alpha Quadrant. Now, speaking specifically about the harvesting of the Borg components, did you find it a little grotesque and perhaps a bit too violent for Star Trek?
No, it's modern Trek. You look at Discovery, you look at some bits of Enterprise. It's not really the same as like 90s Trek or like classic Trek. They're making it more gritty. They're making it more real. Like, even just with Picard's aging and some of the things that he has to face, the realities of he's not this famous captain like he used to, you know what I mean? Like, they've brought a lot of reality into it. Even Riker and Deanna's kid, like, having passed away. It's not glossed over. Like, there was a lot of real gritty topics that are touched on in older Treks, but at the same time, the modern ones are really like, we're really making this a real place. Like, you can imagine yourself in the future here. Whereas, like, in other Treks, it was too perfect. I feel like they really only showed a lot of surface stuff. They showed, like, these are issues that people face, but really it's only the surface. They're not getting into the deep emotions. They touched on the deeper emotions, but they still, like, it was more delicately done. It was very delicate. And this is more like in your face, like, my friend is being murdered and I have to kill him now, or I'm an old man and nobody respects me and I have to cope with this. Like, age is a thing here, and a disease that can't be cured in that amazing future where, like, I thought all diseases could be cured here. What do you mean there's something that's, like, completely Picard is screwed? Like, so, and like, what do you mean this child died because they weren't allowing synthetics to, like, how could they let this happen? So it's more in your face.
Scotty, were you referencing Icheb?
Icheb, yes.
Yeah.
That is who I was referencing, and unfortunately, that was one of the things that was jarring for me in terms of bringing back Icheb and the Dr. Bruce Maddox. It was interesting that they didn't decide to go with the original cast members, although I don't know if Brian Brophy, the original actor for Maddox, would have been able to carry off what they were trying to do in the new show. However, it's always nice when they revisit the original cast members or the original guest stars and they bring them back. That does tickle me. There were a lot of Easter eggs once they got to Free Cloud, including Quark's bar and how he's obviously franchised things now. That was cool. But I can understand where you're coming from when you're saying the things that have changed since the end of Voyager and since the end of Next Generation, and how Picard is not revered or regarded, and also how on those shows, because they were sort of insular communities, that it was easier to maintain the higher Federation ideals. Now, my problem or my observation, and we've had this conversation about Discovery, is they're good shows. They're just not Star Trek. And incorporating these sort of more over the top, maybe more graphic, maybe more realistic story points for the kind of drama that these new showrunners are going for. Do you think that it at all betrays somewhat the more idealistic and optimistic future that was originally infused with the 90s track?
Yeah, no, it does a little bit. And I feel like if I'm going to stay stuck on the wanting that idealism and that that hope, you know, I mean, the word hope was thrown around in Picard, but things still kind of seemed hopeless, even though in the end it wasn't. The feeling of hope was really hard to hold on to. Whereas like in the 90s and the original series, that feeling of hope, of it, like you just hold this like, yeah, everything is going to be great. Whereas like, honestly, I was shocked he came back to life. I know he's like synthetic now, but like he died and I kind of felt, yeah, that makes sense for this show. Like that was where I went. I wasn't like, no, they're going to find a way to bring him back. Like even when Data died, I was like, he's going to come back. Like, and they left that little shred of hope at the end of the movie. And then for that to just never have happened in Picard, that was like,
yeah.
Oh, I lost my earphone. One second.
But well, like, and that
brutal. And I feel like the new ones are brutal compared to that permanent sense of hope in the older series, for sure.
And maybe I am nostalgic and a little bit Pollyanna about it and wanting that same hope. Again, we've discussed it before. We're both fans of the Orville. And it's like, if you do want that sort of optimistic, hopeful future, the Orville does provide it. And do you think it's a factor of 55 years of history and having to change the franchise and dealing with the growing pains of maybe leaving behind fans from the past?
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's just how it's all presented. It's just such a different kind of presentation. I mean, people died in the older episodes. They like horrible things happened, awful things happened. And like even in the Orville, there's like topics that are just, what is going on, right? But it's just this like campy like everything's gonna be okay in the end. Yes, Tasha Yar, she's dead, but you know her memory lives on, and we all love her anyways. And oh look, she comes back like multiple different ways. Like, you know what I mean? Like people just they come back. They all come back no matter what. Kind of in different manners, whatever. But like just the way it is nowadays, everything seems so final and so gritty and like painful. Whereas like it's like people, even if they suffered, even if they went through pain, they kept a light heart and they held on to the characters held on to hope. I think that's the thing, is there aren't enough characters who hold on to hope in the newer series. They just know that life is garbage and they have to deal with this shit. Like 7 of 9, for example, it's just all gone to hell. Picard was the only one who really seemed to hold on to hope. And like even Deanna, when she was like upset about like her son, like and she was like tearing up, she's like, we're okay. But the way she was saying it, she was like, we're okay, and she's like breaking down inside, and she's not okay. You can, she's an empath. She can call everyone out, but she's trying to hide it from other people, and she's not fucking okay. So that's heartbreaking to me. But at the same time, it's I feel like it's like going from like toddler to like campy teen, like preteen to like moody teenager. We're in the moody teenager stage of Star Trek, is what I feel like.
Do you think that there will be with the new, like with this continued production team and the continuing showrunners, do you think that there will be sort of the maturing?
I think there will be. I mean, they're throwing in the like tongue-in-cheek humor of like the early 20-year-olds with the lower decks, if you ask me. Like, so they're coming out with this kids show. So it's like, did they have a kid themselves, the Star Trek universe? And so they're like trying to pander to the children, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's going to be, it's going to get fleshed out. Things are going to change again with the next grouping of shows. And I'm hoping that Picard itself, the next season, will also mature a little bit. I feel like Picard is a little more mature than, say, Enterprise and Discovery.
Okay. All right. Well, and for me, like now that there are no more spoilers, my idea when Picard died at the end, I thought that Star Trek Picard, I thought the La Sirena was going to be renamed the Picard, and it was going to be the ship, and that's how they were going to move forward. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now Patrick Stewart, or not Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard has died, and his consciousness has been uploaded to an android golem. Do you think that was I've been calling it not Picard, because moving into season 2, even though he's got the memories, it's not Picard.
I mean, I don't know. That's a very moral topic. That's philosophy that I could go into that for hours.
Okay. We'll have to set that aside then.
Yeah, because that's a whole thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's about like spirituality and the never-ending energies and the soul and like.
True.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of Schizoid Man when Ira Graves takes over Data in that second season episode.
Well, that would have been cool. That would have been cool if the writing had been better throughout the show. If they would have actually wrote these shows better, I think the transition would from season 1 to season 2 would be easier for people like me that didn't care for the Picard season 1. There are parts and there's episodes that I do like. I thought it started out really strong, but then the writing fell quickly, and the ending was nonsensical.
Space tentacles.
Yes, right.
Space that was a little weird. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. The space tentacle thing, I was just like, really?
Right.
We're going there? Okay.
But if the writing was stronger, like, I believe that we could suspend our disbelief a little more, and then we could also transition into a Picard that's not Picard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just where we started the show and where the show ended up in season 1 is two vastly different places, and it didn't earn, for me, it didn't earn the ending. That ending. Hopefully they do something. I've heard that they're doing something different in season 2, so we'll kind of see how that goes. I do like the fact that Tom DeLange or Q's back,
mm-hmm.
and
I wonder if Q's just going to give him his body back. Just be like, you're not synthetic anymore.
Right?
That could be. It could be a thing. He is omnipotent. He can do whatever he wants. It's cute.
So that golem may not last that long.
No,
I suppose.
So I suppose.
Go ahead.
Do you have a rating for season 1 of Picard out of 10, or is that too broad a topic?
I mean, I liked it. I don't know about rating it. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to season 2.
Well, and we're all Star Trek fans, and I am looking forward to it as well. Steve,
5.
5.
I'm middle of the road on it.
Okay, you're giving it up until Nepenthe. I was pretty much into it.
Yeah.
And then it was after that when everything with the Borg cube sort of like, okay, we're not doing anything with it. It's just going to crash. And then space tentacles and Skybeam.
The space tentacles definitely took one off, no matter what. Like, whatever it is, that was like weird.
Well, and also, I've always said that I have an affinity towards ladies wearing Starfleet uniforms, but there's something about the actress, Isa Briones, when she actually looks like Data and has the yellowy skin and the contact lenses and everything. Cool. It was foxy. It was, I was like, I did not know I enjoyed this. So that was good. I will tune in for season 2 because it is Picard. It is Star Trek.
I'll watch it.
But yeah, I would probably go middle of the road, maybe a 6, because every time I think about season 1 of Picard, I think about Nepenthe. That is the standout, and I really enjoyed. I feel like everything clicked and was firing on all cylinders when they got to Riker and Troy. And that's when I just started. I ignored, or I allowed a lot of the stuff that had been sort of on my back about it, and I just was like, I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back about that. So yeah. All right.
They tricked you with the nostalgia.
It's the jangly keys, I tell you.
and so if you have bad writing in a show, just bring back old characters and everybody will forgive you.
Well, and we will see John Delancey in season 2 and see if it works.
Yeah. All right. So you guys are going to talk about top 5 antagonists?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. I'm going to let you guys do that. I will come back and rejoin you when you're done with that and the review, and we'll go to the chat.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. See you.
Outstanding. See you, Steve. Thanks, man. All right, Shondra. We've sort of had a trial run on this one in terms of our 5. And so I am looking forward to revisiting. So for your antagonists and villains, yes. I have my list still, and I'm not going to ask any questions. Why don't you go with your 5th, and then we'll bounce back and forth, or do you just want to go all 5 and then I'll go all 5?
Let's go back and forth. But my first one is pretty simple because I don't love her. I just hate her. I just hate her completely. Seska.
Mm-hmm.
She's just awful. And sometimes I think, do I love to hate her? No, I just hate her. I just can't stand her as a character. Actress, great job. Making people hate that character, phenomenal. She's just awful. I would probably be happy with her not in the show.
Well, and that she was a functioning member of the crew until she became, the galactic bitch that we all know and hate. Did you mind her when she was just Bajoran, Seska?
She was just, she meant to blend in. She was supposed to blend in, and that's what she did. She just blended in. She was boring, and she blended in. The end. But and afterwards, it was just like awful, awful, awful.
Well, my number 5, not necessarily a villain, more of an antagonist, but I do love this space cloud. V'ger is my number 5. I really, really enjoy the terrifying nature of V'ger, but also the simplistic goal of trying to go back home and meet your creator on sort of that divine quest. I appreciate its motivations, and I also like how it can blow the hell out of space stations and Klingons without a moment's notice. The avatar of V'ger in the Ilea probe and the phrasing of the carbon units and everything. I find it terrifying, and also that guitar sound, that space cloud sound permeates my dreams, and so I do love V'ger as the antagonist, the driving force behind the motion picture. Also, I know it's the slow motion picture, but it's still, I love that flick.
Fair enough. I did this last time when we were going over it, but I feel like the top ones are kind of paired off because it's really hard for me to really pick them. So my 3-4 spot is Gul Dukat and Weyoun. Gul Dukat is just asshole all around. No matter how hard he tries to be good, he's awful at it. He fails at it. He just continuously jerk, bigger jerk, right asshole. And then Weyoun, I mean the Weyouns, I guess, because there's more than one. But he's just like, he's so slick, and like he's kind of like I like him, but he's really bad. And then he kind of like, I don't know, he's a complicated character, and I kind of like that about him. But he's also like suave, like he's a love to hate. He's definitely love to hate.
Oh, absolutely. Schmarmy, ingratiating.
Schmarmy, I love that word.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. My number 4, and I'm just going individuals here, but so I guess I'll do 4 and 3. Yeah. Okay. My number 4 are the nanites from Evolution. I do, again, it's more of an antagonist that, and I appreciate the evolution of those little guys, not necessarily doing anything that was negative as they were defending themselves, boldly going to seek out new life and new civilizations. Well, there they were. Those little robots. I did like them, and I understood where they were coming from. And as the driving force behind that episode, I thought that they were an intimidating, small David versus Goliath sort of enemy that could have taken down the entire crew.
Yeah.
And then my number 3 is the man who killed Captain Kirk. I know you guys don't care about Captain Kirk, but Dr. Tolin Soren. I love Malcolm McDowell. I've enjoyed the bravado and the presence that Malcolm McDowell had in that movie. His motivation was absolutely fantastic, trying to overcome the death of his family and get back to the Nexus so that he could just ignore it all. I think I referred to it in other characters, but just succumbing to your base desires to avoid the problems of the world. Dr. Tolin Soren did it, and he was going to cut through anyone who got in his way, including James T. So
I would put him as one of the top actors, not of the main crews.
Okay.
Like
wow.
he's I think he's a phenomenal actor in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. So, but as for like the list, the top antagonists, again, the top 2, I don't know how to. I love them both so much.
Yes. You do enjoy your antagonists and villains. Yeah.
Yes. I would want to be them. Like, seriously, if I had to pick roles to act as, pick me for those. Like, it'd be so much fun to play them. They're intelligent. They're conniving. Well, Kira is very conniving and like, she's just nasty, but she's fun. Like, I love her. She's fun, nasty. And then the Borg Queen is just like, I remember seeing her on the big screen and being like, I'm in love with you. Like, I want to be you. Like, she's just phenomenal power, you know?
Well, and I was watching a retrospective on First Contact late last week and talking about how Alice Krige had injected sexuality into the role to try and make it more intriguing, and also the manipulation of data. And also that stands for Intendant Kira as well, in terms of her manipulation and keeping Cisco, or Mirror Cisco, as sort of a fun boy toy. And so definitely fun villainesses.
Yes, very.
And I guess that takes us to my top 2.
Yes.
And the back and forth, for me, it goes Khan, Noonien Singh, Ricardo Montalban, not Benedict Cumberbatch. And that just because the history that was established in Space Seed, bringing him back 15 years later in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the way that he had changed and become, and that sort of speaks to what was going on with 7 and 9. And like, you don't know what's happened over the last 15 years. That's what's been going on. And so it was interesting to see that evolution into madness, or de-evolution into madness, to make him just a revenge thirsty madman. And then, speaking of a revenge thirsty madman, I'm with you on Gul Dukat being on the list. I love Gul Dukat. I think he is not swayed by being abandoned or marooned on a planet. He is just an egomaniacal, manipulative guy who is responsible for a near genocide of an entire alien race, and he is convinced he was doing it for the good of the Bajorans.
God.
I know. And then when he goes, and that's only at the beginning.
Yep.
It only keeps going worse.
Yeah.
Like, then we can flash forward, we can jump around all over the place, but signing the Cardassians up with the Dominion him engaging with the Paw Wraiths to try and overcome the Celestial Temple and the prophets. Everything that guy did was awful. And the thing is that he was charismatic and charming, but an absolute madman who deserved to be thrown into the fire caves.
Oh yeah, he was the scariest. He's the scariest type of bad guy.
Yeah. The justified bad guy.
Yes, one who thinks he's doing right.
Yes. Well, excellent list. Steve, I'm assuming you have a 5.
I do. I'll just give them real quick. I won't go into explanations. I'll just kind of run them down. So in the number 5 slot, I have the House of Duras. Number 4, the Wayuns. Number 3, the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Number 2, Khan. And number 1, Goldacott. For all the things that you just mentioned. I do
love
have
how yours touches on both of our lists.
Yeah, I do have 3 honorable mentions, though. The Tholians, Q, and the Zindi.
Well, yeah. Well, and the Zindi, see, it depends on which Zindi. Is it the lizard Zindi? Is it the aquatic Zindi?
All the Zindi.
All the Zindi. All right. All the Hoosnock. Anyway.
It's hard to put Q in the antagonist. He's more of an antagonist than a villain, but it's hard to even put him that way. I mean, he is a villain.
Oh, no,
he
he's
puts
such an
humanity on
antagonist.
trial. But he's also there to guide in a way and help in a way. So very interesting. Anyways, that's my 5 with a couple of honorable mentions, and I'll let you guys get back to your review of season 2, episode 3. Awesome.
We'll always have Tom Paris.
We'll always have Tom Paris. Okay, guys, have a good one.
All right, so getting into the episode. Right off the bat, we have Tendi rushing through her meal as she is rediscovering her ambition and turning her hyperactive gaze to the goal of getting on Dr. Tiana's good side. Apparently someone has been promoted, and Tendi can't wait around just to have life-giving vaccines to save the good doctor. Boimler is having trouble reintegrating on the USS Cerritos because the ship's new security protocols literally won't even allow him to order lunch, ultimately having to eat a bonsai tree.
That was pretty random, but funny.
It was a little random.
Yeah.
There are times that this show does just say, "Oh yeah, you did write for Rick and Morty. I get it."
Yep.
And then seeing the formerly dead Lieutenant Shax casually ordering a hot dog totally messes up Rutherford's entire existence.
I totally called it wrong. I said it was going to be a different person. I was not expecting that one. We had completely different ideas. This one came right out of right field.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw that, I was kind of disappointed for you.
Yeah.
I didn't want Shax to come back. I wanted Kayshawn to show up and go away, and then we get someone else. I don't care who, maybe some Binars. But it would have been interesting to see the rotating security chief.
Yes.
So anyway, after getting an assignment from Dr. Tiana, Tendi taps Mariner to go and join her on a mission to Qualar 2 to pick up an old family relic of the Doctor's. Their infectious enthusiasm has them imagining their mission as a fun girls' trip. However, after arriving on Qualar 2 and knocking back some Alco slushies, they can make slushy flavors out of anything here. We got to get like 5 of them. We start to get some tension. Now, Qualar 2 is interesting because Qualar 2 is where they found one of the ships from Unification, the Spock 2-parter from Next Generation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that they had like a planet with a mall that also has a quarks, kind of like Freeside.
Yeah.
But that was cool. Then, so let's see, where did we go? Tensions.
I love that corpses everywhere.
Well, and I'm really pleased. Yeah. Through a series of escalating calamities, Tendi and Mara realize they don't really know each other at all. And after accidentally breaking Dr. Tiana's ancient Cation libido scratching post, which Mariner lovingly names Jeremy, this is not really a friendship, or this is not really a friendship that is really put to the test. I kind of enjoyed the Cation libido post, just because it did harken back to Pon farr. And I do like it when animal characters reveal themselves to be the animals that they are. So that was pretty cool. A quick trip to a seedy bar at Starbase Earhart from Tapestry, to hustle some Nausicaans at Domjot is fun for some nostalgia, but is no help on the quest to fix the sex scratching post. This all leads to the episode's very welcome deep dive into Tendy's Orion past, as the pair head to a real pirate outpost where Devana, revealed to be Tendy's first name, she was more badass than any of Mariner's holographic fantasy versions of herself, and bears the awesome Orion title of Mistress of the Winter Constellations.
I loved that.
So did I. And it's really, I like Tendy better than I like Mariner.
This I'm kind episode, of loving Tendy now. Yeah.
Tendy is one, like, I like Tendy and Rutherford more than I like Boimler and Mariner. And I don't know, they even make a joke in this, and it's like, aren't you and Mariner saying to Tendy, aren't you dating Rutherford? And she's like, not really. And to Mariner, aren't you dating Boimler? You practically sleep in the same bunk. She's like, no, he's a pet. But it's interesting that those two characters who get paired up the most, the secondary of the foursome, are becoming my favorites much more than the, let's say, highlighted versions. So anyway, Mariner, and you do like Tendy. How do you feel about Rutherford and Boimler?
I don't know. Honestly, the women are kind of outshining them big time. Like, and this only highlighted it, if you ask me. And I love that Tendy accidentally becomes bossy, and she's like, wait, no, I can't do that. Like, she's clearly a boss bitch, and she's just really covering it up to be in Starfleet. And I love that.
Yeah, and also somewhat, having grown out of her Orion past, I thought that was kind of cool, and it's not something that she can just turn on. And like when Worf did Klingon episodes, it was always like, okay, well, Worf's going to be Worf because he's a Klingon. It's kind of that almost Spock in terms of shunning his human half, and Tendy trying to stay away from her Orion past.
Yeah.
But the biggest laugh for the episode for me was when Tendy is saying that she doesn't want to be regarded as a typical Orion who is a pirate and thief. And then she goes, oh, wait, my cousin, he works at a pirate thief den. We should go there. And it's like, that was amazing. As you're trying to outrun your past, you're just becoming absolutely embroiled in it. So anyway, Mariner has to go undercover as an Orion, and as the girls' trip turns into bickering, the distraction exposes Mariner for the enemy human that she is. She did go undercover and green herself, and once that wore off, and the Orions clearly despising humanity, or humans specifically, turning the homecoming into a run for their lives. And that is where we'll leave Tendy and Mariner. But meanwhile, back on the Cerritos, Brad's crisis is more personal, and this one is tied to Tom Paris. Finally, we get the Tom Paris.
Yes.
The young ensign is excited to meet another one of his personal heroes, with the added goal of getting him to sign his collectible plate. Brad is such a Starfleet superfan that he saves time by referring to the USS Voyager as Voy.
Yep.
It really saves time. I thought it was a neat sort of real world parallel or meta joke, just in terms of, because there have always been, TOS, TNG, DS9, Voy.
True.
But no one, and so I did like that sort of nod, if you will. Brad's problem is that he can't get from the lower decks because the doors won't open for him to go hang out on the bridge to see Tom. And also, as he's trying to get up, and just before he decides that he's going to go through the Jeffries tubes, it was nice to see Jet back.
Oh yeah, that's true. He made a little cameo, didn't he?
I wasn't expecting Jet to ever show up again. It was like, and we never heard from him again. But it was good, and actually, Kayshawn was in the in this episode as well. So the security chief is still a Temerian. So Shax is just back, but we'll get to Shax in a second. So he while he's trying to get through the Jeffries tubes, everything is rejected by a snarky ship's computer saying that he is unauthorized personnel. And to make things worse, Tom is on the bridge, showing off at the helm, and he sparks up a plasma conduit, which ends up, well, really messing up Boimler's day, pushing him out of the plasma conduit into a Jeffries tube, burning his lips while kissing his plate. Oh, and by the way, those collector plates, they're real. You can still get them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, $29.99 plus shipping and handling.
Awesome.
So as Brad is trying to get to the bridge, Rutherford is dealing with the return of Shax from the dead. Rutherford, who's had his memory reset, just can't wrap his head around it and becomes obsessed with figuring out how the security officer who has sacrificed his life for Rutherford is now roaming around the ship without much of an explanation or even an acknowledgement. And apparently it is incredibly taboo to bring up what is going on with anyone who comes back from dead. I did like the multiple cameos of every version of Shax in Rutherford's sort of breakdown, trying to figure out who it was. Mirror Universe, Dyson Sphere. There was even an Enterprise era uniform. There was an original series uniform. He had broken through the multiverse. It was almost
Great
as
nods.
visually, great nod. Same as last week's with Chip. I thought that was really cool. And you find out that you just don't talk about life after death because Cody, who brings it up quite brashly, is promptly reassigned and asked to leave as Shax sobs. So anyway, back on with Tendi and Mariner, they open up to each other and admit they have their own way of keeping others at a distance. With the girls' trip bonding finally realized, they work together to escape the horde of Orions who seem to really hate humans. The last remaining issue is Dr. Tiana's now completely destroyed or incomplete libido post. So Mariner uses her rule-breaking superpower to harmlessly ram the shuttle into the ship, and the shields just dink the shuttle away with no damage to the Cerritos, but the shuttle is mangled. So off to the bridge goes. Mariner goes, and it turns out that Dr. Tiana didn't give a crap about the just one box for the cat reasons.
I loved that part.
Well, and it was one of the things with that was the second best part was the dink off of the ship, but definitely when Dr. Tiana's eyes go all wide and she is totally be a cat, I thought that was dope. So anyway, Brad finds himself trapped, huffing some form of gases within a Jeffries tube, and he hallucinates that a plate, that the Tom Paris plate, talks him through the situation, and then falls into a tube trap, and it jams into a circuit, dropping the ensign out from the Jeffries tube onto the bridge, where he is mistaken as a Kazon, and then Tom Paris beats the crap out of him, and he doesn't get his plate signed yet, but he does get black eye from Tom Paris, and it's not many people who can say that they were beat up by Tom. So that pretty much wraps up Brad. But Rutherford and his search for or his investigation into Shax's return. Turns out the bridge crew keep their resurrection secrets for good reason, to spare the sanity of the crew from the truth of the scientific depravity that would haunt them. And he tells Rutherford all about it, leaving him haunted and shaking. And we only get the taste of it has something to do with a black mountain. And I thought that was weird.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
And it just sort of yoinked away as you've heard about the Black Mountain, right? And he's like, no. And it just goes into this weird sort of introspective, I don't want to know these truths. I don't want to know these truths. So I'm assuming that we as the audience are never going to know these truths. And
I don't think
that leaves the four. No, and I don't. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to be as good as what I'm imagining anyway.
No, of course not.
There's got to be there's got to be something there. But and that leaves the four pals back together again, once more hanging out with Mariner while she sits in the brig, her second or possibly first home, and Boimler can even use the doors and everything now. So all is right with, and nobody has learned anything again.
Nope. Nothing.
So how are you liking season 3 so far? What
I love it.
How is this shaping up? Yeah, I'm enjoying it too.
I feel like I got into season 1 better because I binged it, watching it one episode at a time. I just want all of it at once. So that's the only annoying thing about not waiting until it's done, is that I feel like I would really dive into it more if I was binging it. But that's true of like any show, really.
Well, that's true. And they've like the week-to-week release dates. It seems like some people are okay with it, but now that we've been spoiled with everything dropping on Netflix or anything at the same time, there are people who are okay with week to week, and there are other people who just give it all face right now. I'm okay with week to week, but I liked it.
I love binging. I love the ability to binge. So yeah. But that's my only complaint.
Well,
so that means it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I will accept that as the ranking of the show so far, of the season 2 so far. Pretty damn good.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it, and I've been enjoying it. And it is speaking back to what we were saying about Picard and Discovery, and the more realistic and in your face, or maybe not realistic, but more true to our actual real life, where things can end up being crap and you have to deal with the repercussions. This show is really good at reminding me of that. Yep, by the end of the episode, we just move on to the next adventure. Exactly. And it does have that Star Trek feel.
You know, I think that's one of the biggest things you just made me realize, is that episodes used to be their own world. Like very few were two-parters, very few really tied back, or they would touch back. It would be like a nod. Like Lower Decks does a lot of nods, which is what older Trek used to do. New Trek, it's a season. It actually, like each episode, it's not individual. That I think is the biggest thing, and I'm just realizing that right now. That's the biggest thing. That's the difference.
Well, and even the references to it from last week's episode, when Boimler comes back from the Titan, and they're like, so how did you like your time on the Titan? Oh, serialized action that ends up with big twists that completely alter my reality. And maybe it is the episodic nature. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to.
It's not about nodding to previous things. It's about it. You have to know. Like you could miss an episode of TNG and be perfectly fine. You go back and watch it later, and it didn't. Some episodes, it didn't even matter where they sat at all. Like we're going to be touching on that episode of Deep Space Nine. That could have been in season 1 for all I care. You know what I mean? Like, there's an episode we're going to talk about next week. But now I'm stuck on that.
Well, no, it's very interesting. I'm gonna have to sort of mull that around in my noggin as well, and see if that's the difference, because I know that they worked with serialization in Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. Enterprise more exclusively. Deep Space Nine, you didn't necessarily.
Deep Space Nine a bit, but it still had very episodic. Like they would still throw in random things that you're like, that has nothing to do with the previous 4 episodes. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Let's just take a detour to Empok Nor, and we'll just go and hang out there for a bit. Who cares what's going on? It doesn't matter.
Well, let's go play baseball.
It maybe. I love it. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
When we do talk about it, we'll be ranking. Is it going to be the top 5 sort of novelty episodes, the top 5 most fun episodes?
Well, we'll figure out top 3 or 5. But yeah, the interesting. I don't know about like fun, but maybe interesting, different. I don't know how to spin it. I have a couple in my head that I'm like, I really want to bring it up somehow, but yeah.
Okay.
Novelty is a good word.
Novelty?
Yeah, novelty. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. So yeah, I guess that's another successful Lower Decks from these kids. Did you get a chance to check it out, Steve?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Hey man.
Yeah. No, this isn't. It isn't for me. I might check it. I might check out the first season. I might give it 3 episodes. That's my rule. If a show hasn't picked me in 3 episodes, I'm out. So I might try it. It didn't. Nothing about it looked at all interesting to me. So I never even tried it.
Wow.
I am surprised by the laughs that I do get from it, and as I've mentioned before on previous episodes with you, Shondra, like I go into it not wanting to dislike it, but I always sort of feel like, okay, let's watch it, sit down, focus, and then when I'm watching it, I end up having like a really good time. It's almost in spite of myself, and so I don't know. I have to stop going in with these lowered expectations and just enjoy the crew. And again, with the development of Tendi this week, I am looking forward to seeing more Devana.
And I went into the whole show with absolutely no expectations, and I just laugh all the time. So
perfect. Good, it's working. Shall we take a jaunt over to the chat and see what those fine crew members are saying? Oh my! Thank you so much for the super chat. Was it a sticker? Was there a message?
Got a
thank you so much.
Super sticker with a diamond.
Ooh.
So thank you.
Nothing but diamonds.
Awesome. Okay, let's go. Lovely. Let's go see what everybody else is talking about in the chat today. Lots of chatting going on between everybody.
Oh,
Sejuk. Chandra's logical tonight. True.
See, my bangs are covering, but I'm actually Romulan, not Vulcan this time. Yep.
Says hello to everyone and hello to you. And thank you so much for the diamonds for the soles of our shoes. Sejuk says hi. I've watched What We Left Behind, and I hope you found it as engaging as I did, but I love Deep Space Nine, so getting to see the behind the scenes.
I'm going to check that out for
really
sure. I'm going to look for that soon.
Hey, Gundle Whittlebomb. The only thing Shatner does better than act is sing. He sings like the angels, angels wearing girdles, but angels nevertheless. Bless his heavenly diaphragm. Thank you, Gundle. Awesome. I appreciate it. And so does Bill.
I'm sure Bill. Yeah, I'm sure Bill does.
Oh, he watches the show.
He watches.
Sejuk, to my dismay, I failed to watch the documentaries. There's still time.
I feel you. I'm the same way. I've watched a few of them, but not all of them. I should, though. I'll definitely get on the other one, What We Left Behind, for sure.
And Sejuk says, my highlight was when Picard took Soji to the Riker residence. Yeah. Absolutely. That's my favorite episode of season 1. And just because
I love that character too. I thought they set up the Soji character well, and they had such a good idea that just they ruined it. But in my opinion,
and Ichep is his name.
That's right.
Poor kid. Thank you, Cedric. I'd love to see that too. And I'm perhaps one of the documentaries. Sejuk. Revisiting the original cast is always nice. My OCD demands the continuity. Mine too. That was when I knew they were bringing back when they were going to bring back Maddox. I was checking it out, and it was because they weren't releasing the casting on IMDb or anything like that. But it's kind of fun that you have a cat in sickbay on the Cerritos.
It's a nod to the doctor. Doctor's cousin.
Hey. Sajik says, personally, I love the newer Trek shows, but they need to keep the hope in the future of the series. Yeah, and I don't mind. You can have more graphic violence, and it wouldn't really bother me that much as long as there is still the hope. And we did get a little pointing to the future. Engage, moving on from the end of season 1 into season 2. We'll see how it goes, and maybe Q will be injecting some of that hope too.
Yeah.
Oh, Wandering Soul. I remembered. Good. Wandering Soul says, could it be a view of parts of the Star Trek universe that are far enough from the mainstream to explain the divergence? Like the further away from the main planets, you run into more issues. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah. And because this had, like, Picard hasn't been sort of, again, in that safety bubble of being on a starship in Starfleet under the flag of the Federation. So that could be it as well. Yes. Wandering Soul, or that it paints the universe as one where distinct to a darker. Well, and it's interesting that you say that, Wandering Soul, because I was wondering, I keep saying that I want to see what happens after the Dominion War. And with Picard, we've seen what happens after the Dominion War, and no one said I was going to like it. I watched an interesting YouTube video, and it was the remilitarization of Starfleet with the advent of Borg, and how when Star Trek 6 happened, that was the demilitarization of Starfleet, and the Borg kicked it back into gear and possibly taking it into a darker place. So all interesting theories in terms of careful what you wish for, I suppose. Descending, not dissenting. It said Wandering Soul. It says uploading the Picard mind into the Golem is controversial. It's like it's the man or the memory.
Yep.
And it is an existential.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
And Sajik continues. Season 2 will show a different Q. I hear. Can't wait to see. Me too.
Yeah. I'm hopefully it's not too different because it's Q.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know.
Oh, nice. Picard, I rate 4 to 5 stars. Well, Sajik, hey, I'm glad you're enjoying. We're all looking forward to season 2, and I want to see what happens with Q. Wandering Soul says, I hope not. Q giving him his body back would equate to it was all a dream kind of thing. That is, yeah.
Did Bobby Ewing in the shower?
That's what I was thinking too, yeah. Sajik, Issa Barones was awesome with the multiple characters, and I thought she did a decent job as well. Some people had criticized her acting, but I thought that she did an okay job. And I didn't even bring up Nerissa. How did you like the Romulan brother and sister?
There was some creepy vibes there between the two of them.
So I'm a huge Peyton List fan, though. I like her. She was in a CW show that was short-lived, I think only 2 seasons, called Frequency. It was a continuation of the movie. Really, really good. But I love her whenever she shows up.
Steve, you know what show Peyton List is in? She's in Mad Men.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get on it. It's on my list.
All right.
That's a great show.
I know it's on your list. It's a great show. Sajik says, the vindictive Seska was an awesome villain.
Yep.
Awesome to hate.
Yes.
And she came back in the episode Shattered, and I screamed at the screen. I couldn't stand her. Get off of my screen. I love that episode.
Sajik says V'ger was so unknown, so much yet to be known. And that's he's having a tantrum. Shall I spank it? Anyway, Sajik, Wayun was the type you love to hate. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Agreed. All of the Wayuns. Wandering Soul says, I don't have, because I hate most villains. It's rare a villain is written well enough for me to relate to. Main antagonist is like Q. He is like the Star Trek Loki. That's a really good analogy, actually.
I can see that, yeah.
Wandering Souls, he's like a child finding his way without any limits on what's possible and grows to be a better being. And there is, like, Q does have an evolution throughout all of the shows that he's on. And
whether that's that's actually growth or for Picard's benefit or the Enterprise's benefit is still up in the air, though, right?
Well, then there are more Q stories.
Right.
We'll find out. Sajik, Wandering Soul Sajik is a fan of Wandering Soul. Amen. Q is an awesome Loki-like character. Agreed. Yep. The Nexus. Now,
I don't know if is the Nexus an antagonist, though?
No, I wouldn't think so. But I
Soren
don't know
definitely is an antagonist.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if is referencing the Nexus just in relation to Soren.
Well, maybe, yeah.
And Sajik, Soren was my number 3 as well. Good. Hey, good. Sajik, my first 3 are the Borg Queen, Khan, and Soren. That touches on everybody's lists.
Yeah.
Wandering Soul. I will say the Borg Queen brought a human element back to the Borg. Emotion, desire, like what really drove her to remove the individuality out of the Borg, but keep her own. Yes. Q has method to his madness, says Sajik. He does. Yep. Sometimes, most of the time. And always a lesson to be learned, sometimes by Q himself. At Sajik, I concur on your first 3. And oh no, that would have been great. Sajik says, I was really hoping for a Tribble security chief.
That would be
a Tribble or a Horta.
Mm-hmm.
Q is an interesting perspective. Wandering Soul says to Sajik, is an interesting perspective. If he is omniscient, time wouldn't be linear, and you're right. He would be doing everything on purpose, but he does seem to grow, so it makes you wonder.
Seem to being the operative phrase, because we don't know if it's a put on for the benefit of Picard, Riker, and the crew, or if it's actually the Q is actually growing. Hard to say.
Wandering Soul, it plays into people becoming Q. Well, you can create, Oh, is the Dominion an antagonist?
And I said yes.
Oh, okay. Gods, the horny scratch post. Yes, Jeremy. I loved that. That was funny too. Sajik says Tendi was so badass. The Mistress of the Winter Constellations is a hell of a title. The way she demands help had me laughing. Punch to the stomach will do it. Wandering Soul. Oh, I will say Species 8472 droid, an amazing example of an even less than human species that's Borg level. Yeah. Really knocking home that aliens can be unable to relate to because they are alien. That is true. Well, and it's interesting. They were sort of like the xenomorph of Star Trek.
Yep.
Just the terrifying murder bots. And Sajik says, glad to see the organs don't change much from the 24th and the 32nd century. This is true. What is the in Discovery? I forget. The Emerald Chain? That's the one. Sajik says, poor Boimler. Lol, that kid can't catch a break. Well, he did. He got beat up by Tom, and he gets to hang out at the bar. So, Wandering Soul says, here's a question. Who are the top 3 characters you want to see cameo in Below Decks?
That's a good question.
That is a very good question. Maybe we should.
It would
put
be
together
lower
a
decks,
wish list
right?
for
Not
next-
below decks.
Low. True.
Yeah, but still, yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna have to
Tuvok.
write that down because that. Ooh, yeah! If we could get Tuvok, that'd be great. Oh my God! My top 3 I want to see on lower decks: Tuvok, Spock, if he's still around, and Janeway or Chakotay. Yeah, I would take that. You know, I don't think he would. I don't think Guinan would count. Would Guinan hang out on lower decks? I don't know
either.
I mean, Paris came
Janeway
by.
and.
I mean, Paris
It's
came
true.
by. Maybe Guinan is like gonna work in the bar there. Who knows? I would love to
Just pinch hit for a bit.
Let's think of this and come back to it in another episode.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to absolutely.
Yeah.
And Steve said Janeway and Chakotay are appearing on Prodigy, which is true. Sajik says, "Oh, the Shax's resurrections reasons were awesome, and Rutherford is just traumatized by the cause or method of coming back." That, yeah, and he just doesn't talk about it. And he does have a flashback later on. It was pretty funny.
The Doctor. Yes.
Ooh, the Doctor.
Yeah.
Good. I would take an EMH. Yeah. Sajik, Tom Paris saying, "Oh my God, it's a Kazon, had me in stitches." Me too. No one references the Kazon, so it was nice to see them get a little bit of due.
True.
I hate the Kazon.
And then, well, everyone does. That's why it was kind of like they never bring back the Kazon.
Skipped all that.
Sajik says, or this is how we do it in the Delta Quadrant. As Tom beats up Boimler was classic. It was.
Great.
It was really good. Wandering Soul says, "I'd like to see Odo and Data with the Doctor. They'd be an odd group together." That is true.
I find the irony that the Doctor would be the most emotional of the 3.
That's true too. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
but unfortunately, we can't get Odo unless someone does a really bitchin' Rene Auberjonois impression.
Yeah,
as he is no longer with us, but an incredible actor. Sajik says, "I'm with Shondra. Got to binge it, especially with Star Trek." Yeah.
You know what I'm happy about?
It.
I've never binged any of the series that I love. I've never binged them. I've gone back and I've watched individual episodes, but I've never had the chance to actually sit and binge TNG, DS9, or Voyager.
Oh, I have. I've binged them all.
Oh, I'm planning it.
Okay. All right.
I need like a month.
It's awesome. Yeah, it takes a long time to get through them.
Yeah.
I this is off topic a little bit, but I just got done rewatching Stargate SG-1 episodes, all 10 seasons. Awesome show too.
Tell me you're getting into Farscape. Sorry, anytime someone says Stargate and the last season, all I think is Farscape.
Yeah, I liked Farscape. I watched it. I haven't revisited that in a long time.
And Babylon 5.
Yeah, Babylon 5 is great.
Sajik says TNG was episodic. The new Treks are linear seasons. And that's that is
big difference.
Big difference. It's huge. It is huge. TNG had all these awesome self-contained episodes. I liked if I missed an episode and wasn't caught up, and that was the nature of the production as well.
Yeah,
just with syndication.
Wandering
Soul. Hey, Farscape has a movie add-on too. Really? Farscape has a movie?
Yeah.
Heavens. Okay. Loved Mad Men. I loved Mad Men. There's something that I've binged a couple times. Sajik says, "Gotta love Stargate and Farscape is an instant classic." And the alien designs by the Henson Creature Shop were fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. Good shows all around.
Oh,
all right. Absolutely. I think that's going to do it for us tonight, guys.
Yes.
Great show.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So we will try and hash out what we mean specifically by our novelty shows, just so we can make an appealing thumbnail.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to doing that, and then having a little bit of a wish list as to who we would like to see show up in Lower Decks.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the review of season 2, episode 4.
Can't wait.
Yes, sir. Looking forward.
Okay, so with that, I think that'll do it for us. We'll say goodnight, and on our way out, I'll play the trailer for my book. But for
sure.
Scotty, for Scotty R37 and Shondra, I am Steve Foley. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
See you guys.